Good morning, everybody. Matt Moda here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks for tonight's NBA betting slate. We're talking Friday, November 15th. I'm going to have 4 of my favorite NBA player props for you guys to lock in. 4 plays, plus we do have a nice juicy ladder for tonight as well. Hopefully that comes through. Of course, before we can get into today's picks, we got to do a recap from yesterday. Ended up being not a terrible day overall. We've got one of our plays to cash. We were down 0.2 units. It's kind of frustrating because the odds that we got looked so good as the day went on. I mean, we locked in Derek Lively 10 plus points at plus 130. That closed for like even money or minus money at most books. Of course, he spent the entire game in foul trouble, so he only scored 5 points. So that goes down as an L, which is very frustrating. And then for Luka Doncic, we had him over 8.5 assists, which did cash. But unfortunately, we laddered him up to 10 assists, which did not cash, leaving us for a down day. On the entire season, we're still down on the year. We're down a little bit under 5 units, which isn't terrible in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, we would hope to be in the green, but we were hot heading into yesterday, so it only makes sense that we were to have a little bit of a down day. Hopefully, it's just a one-day blip, and we're able to get back in our winning ways for today. Real quick, would appreciate it if you could like the video, comment, subscribe. All that stuff helps me out a ton. And let's get into today's bangers. So play number 1. Wizards versus Hawks game. Trae Young over 10.5 assists, minus 125 odds at bet 365. So the over 10.5 number is what I was able to send out last night to my dub club, and that is what gets officially tracked. If you're not on the dub club and you're locking this in right now, I would play this over 11.5 at plus 100, which is currently available, at least at the time I started recording. So right now, if you can only get the over, a little bit of a tongue twister there, 11.5 at plus 100, I would still take it at that number. This is just an awesome play for the Trae Young assist prop against this Wizards team. The Wizards currently allowing the 3rd most assists per game to point guards. And per props.cash, they are also the best point guard assist matchup, assuming their point guard assist prop over under, the 3rd best matchup for that as well. I love looking at both of those numbers because sometimes if a team's giving up a ton of points, assists, rebounds, or whatever to one specific position, the books will catch up and there will no longer be value on that play. That has not happened yet with the Wizards. Again, 3rd best matchup while also allowing the 3rd most assists per game to point guards. And they've been really bad recently. Another reason why I like this play. Last game, Chris Paul, 11 assists on an over-under of 8.5. 2 games prior to that, Scottie Pippen Jr., 11 assists on an over-under of 8.5. That also includes Trae Young in this exact matchup. 2 games against the Wizards so far this year, 13 and 15 assists, so over easily in both games. But more importantly, 19 and 26 potential assists in those 2 games as well. So very, very good history against the Wizards. And Trae Young has just been awesome as a playmaker this season. He's gone over the 11.5 number in 7 of 11 games. He's averaging the 2nd most assists per game in the NBA at 11.5. Yes, he's averaging exactly 11.5 assists per game. But more importantly, he's averaging the most potential assists per game as well. 20.5 potential assists per game. Nobody else is above 20, and he's the only one. The Wizards, the reason why they allow so many assists is because they have a really, really bad defense. They played a really fast pace, the bad defense, fast pace, and their style of defense leads to plays in which are assists to point guards. So they have the worst defensive net rating in the NBA. They play at the 2nd fastest pace in the NBA. That's good. They allow the 3rd most points per game via the pick and roll man. So if the roll man is scoring off a pick and roll, that is an assisted play. They also allow the 3rd most corner 3-point attempts. That's generally a kick out, a catch and shoot. That's an assisted play. And they allow the 10th most catch and shoot 3-point attempts in general. Catch and shoot is also an assisted play. All these baskets, roll man, corner 3, catch and shoot, those are all assisted plays. That's why they allow so many assists to point guards that run a lot of pick and roll. Trae Young runs literally the most possessions as the pick and roll ball handler in the entire NBA. He also averages the 8th most drives to the basket in the NBA as well, 8th most. All 7 players above him have a lower pass rate than Trae Young. So you kind of get an understanding of why he's been able to rack up so many assists. Let's hope that continues tonight. He's able to cash out our first play of the evening. Next up, we're heading to the Timberwolves versus Kings game, and here's where we have our ladder. Anthony Edwards over 25.5 points, minus 125 odds at Flip. I'm also laddering Anthony Edwards to 30 plus points, which you can get at plus 180 odds at Flip. I'm putting a full unit, 1 unit McSlam on the over 25.5 I'm putting a quarter unit on the over, or excuse me, on the 30 plus. So risking about a unit and a half total on Anthony Edwards point prop. And honestly, a lot of times when I'm talking about my NBA plays, I'm diving into a really juicy matchup. This is not a bad matchup. It's not an incredibly juicy matchup for Anthony Edwards. This is really just a play on the number, right? Getting over 25 and a half is just way, way too low for Anthony Edwards. Even at the minus 125 odds, he should not be priced at an over-under of 25 and a half. And I kind of understand why. You look at his game log. He started off the year really well. He's been kind of cold recently. He's gone under this number in 2 of his last 3 games. The one game in which he went over, he barely did, scoring 26 points. But the volume, right? The volume is what we are betting on with Anthony Edwards. That volume is not going to change anytime soon. His last 3 games in which he struggled, 24, 19, 25 field goal attempts. He's just shot terribly. 8 for 24, 8 for 19, 10 for 25. That's how he shot in his last 3 games. Of course, when you attempt a high volume of your shots from 3-point range, your field goal rate is just going to be lower in general. But that's also going to swing back the other way. He shot horribly from deep in these past 3 games. 4 for 14, 4 for 10, 0 for 9. That's right, 0 for 9 from deep in his last game. What we love are those attempts, right? The easiest way to rack up a bunch of points is to shoot a bunch of and make a bunch of 3-pointers, which is what Anthony Edwards has been doing. Now, the way the Kings play defense is not amazing for Anthony Edwards, right? They generally try to limit points via isolation and via the pick and roll ball handler. But what that does is it leaves them weak from behind the 3-point line. If you look into that, they are the 6th worst defense in the NBA guarding the above the break 3-pointer. Anthony Edwards has taken the most above the break 3-point attempts in the entire NBA, 5th most, against a team that's 6th worst at guarding it. Unsurprisingly, the last time these two teams played, Anthony Edwards scored 32 points, and that was, again, not shooting that well. 10 of 24 from the field, 5 of 15 from 3-point range. So just a little bit of positive regression from a shooting perspective for Anthony Edwards. He could easily get to 26 points not shooting well. He's gotten 30 points not shooting well, and if he does shoot well, then the attempts can be a little bit lower. So I just think there's a lot of avenues in which Edwards gets this for us. I absolutely love this play. That's play number 2. Third up, Heat versus Pacers game. Myles Turner over 8.5 rebounds, plus 120 odds at FanDuel. So this is another play that I sent out last night at plus 120. You can still get it at plus 115, which I would still take at that number. So all good right now if you're watching this and only the plus 115 is available. Go ahead and take it at that number. Honestly, this is a system play that we've been on all year. Take your center rebound props against the Miami Heat. They're allowing the most rebounds per game to centers, and they're the second best matchup for center rebound props as well. So most rebounds, second best center rebound matchup according to props.cash. And this is really all because they have Bam Adebayo playing center for them. Bam Adebayo is a good player. He does get a lot of offensive rebounds, but he's not a stretch big. So the center guarding Bam Adebayo is able to stay closer to the basket and collect all the rebounds, right? That's why center rebound props have been such a play against Bam. Now, Turner himself has been hit or miss from a rebounding perspective this year. He's only gone over this number in 4 of 10 games, but it's a matchup play, right? Kind of the opposite of what I was talking to you about with Anthony Edwards. Sometimes I'm targeting a juicy matchup. Sometimes the number is just too low. In this case, this is a juicy matchup. Just look at the game log of centers against the Heat. It's crazy. Jalen Duren, 11 rebounds. His over-under was 10.5, but the over was priced for plus money. So the more likely scenario, according to the books, was that he was going to go under, and he went over. In that same exact game, Isaiah Stewart, 10 rebounds on an over-under of 5.5. Game before that, Rudy Gobert, 13 rebounds. His over-under was 11.5. Game before that, Yusuf Nurkic, 18 rebounds. His over-under was 10.5. Game before that, Domantas Sabonis, 16 rebounds. His over-under was 13.5. That's 4 of the last 5 games from the Heat. They've allowed centers go over the rebound prop. Some of them go over the rebound prop by a mile. And despite Myles Turner being hit or miss this season, from a rebounding perspective, he's gone over this number in 5 straight games against the Miami Heat in which Bam Adebayo has played. 5 straight games and actually got to 10 plus rebounds in 4 of those 5 as well. So it's a great matchup for Turner to rack up a bunch of rebounds. Let's hope he does, cashing out our third play. Lastly, fourth and final pick of the video, Grizzlies versus Warriors game. Buddy Hield, 4+ made 3-pointers, plus 150 odds at FanDuel. As always, we save our juiciest play of the evening for our last play as well. And in this play, we're taking a heavy catch and shoot 3-point volume type of shooter in Buddy Hield. against the best matchup you can imagine for this type of player against the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, looking at Buddy Hield, this is like my favorite type of three-point prop. He was on fire from three-point range to begin the season. He hit 4 or more three-pointers in 5 of the Warriors' first 7 games, which is crazy. 5 of 7, he made at least 4. In the one of the games, he went under. He still made 3, so it's like he was right there. Now, that was always going to come down, right? That type of shooting success, that type of volume was always going to be crazy, or it was never really going to keep up. And with that in mind, he's now missed this in 3 straight games. So he cashed it in 5 of 7, has now missed it in 3 straight. That just makes you want to buy back right in on his three-point prop, again, in a very juicy matchup. The Grizzlies allowed the most catch-and-shoot three-point attempts in the entire NBA by a pretty wide margin. They allow 31.3 catch-and-shoot three-point attempts per game. The next closest team is at 29.6. It's like 1.7 attempt difference between them and the next closest team, which is massive when you just consider the sample size. But the funny thing is, the Grizzlies, you would expect, okay, they give up a ton of catch-and-shoot three-pointers. You're going to want to target corner three-point guys against them. That's not the case. They have the #1 defense against both the right and the left corner three. They've allowed literally the fewest made corner threes in the entire NBA. So what the Grizzlies do, if someone drives to the hoop and they kick it out to the corner, they're going to crash aggressively on that guy in the corner. What that means is that player is just one kick out pass away from a wide open catch and shoot above the break three-pointer. And that is what the Grizzlies defense has been weakest at, right? Allowing catch and shoot. They've also allowed the most above the break three-point attempts as well. They allow 33.7 above the break three-point attempts. The next closest team is at 31.8, and they're the only 2 teams above 30. So it's a massive gap between them and the second team, and it's also a massive gap between the second team and the third team in terms of allowing above the break three-pointers. Buddy Hield, unsurprisingly, leads the Warriors in catch and shoot three-point attempts more than Steph Curry, more than anybody else on the Warriors. And the majority of his three-point attempts come from above the break as well. He like 3 times of his 3 times. He takes 3 times more attempts from the above the break three-pointer than the corner. That's what I was looking at. Perfect matchup for Buddy Hield. He's also made 4 three-pointers in 4 of the 5 games that DeAnthony Melton has missed. DeAnthony Melton is out for this game. So I just love this play on Buddy Hield. Let's hope it comes to fruition. And that's all we got. 4 bangers plus 1 ladder play for you guys to lock in. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then the last thing that I'll mention, if you're interested, I do have a Dub Club where I send all my plays out. It's only $5 a month. It gets you everything that I'm playing across all sports. So nights like that last night where I dive into the props a little bit early, I send those out to my Dub Club. You're able to get the same odds that I locked them in. I send a screenshot of the bet slip so you can kind of see these are the odds that I'm getting. The way it works is as soon as I decide what a play is, the first thing I do is send it to my Dub Club. You get it to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. So for people that don't want to watch the videos, don't always have time, or they just want to make sure they can get the best odds, that's why I have the Dub Club. If you're not interested in that, it's no problem. You can still get everything for free on YouTube and on Twitter. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.